You're listening to the Afro Chi Podcast, a show for my fellow Black female energy healers and the everyday woman who wants to heal her energy in a creative and holistic way. You'll hear from Black female healers who share their knowledge, gifts, and experiences and enlighten you on how to tap into your powerful Black energy to get the results you need to live an energetically free life. If you're ready to become unstuck, find freedom and peace energetically, stay tuned. I'm your host, Kiera Flipping. Hello, Queens. Welcome to Season 2 of the Afro Chi Podcast. I am so excited about Season 2 because we are focusing this entire season on the chakras. So each episode this season, we will be taking a deep dive into each chakra one by one. We are starting off this season with the first chakra of the major chakras, mūlādhāra, the root. We have an amazing guest today that is going to get this season started on a grounded path. Our guest today offers organic feminine hygiene products, yoni education, yoga classes for women of color, spiritual womb cleanses, sacred women classes, gardening classes, and guys, she is also a doula. Our guest today is the owner of YoniSacred and the Womb Room. Today, I am so excited to have Nas joining us this morning. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am so well. I'm so excited. I'm so thankful that you are here to help us get the season kicked off with the root. So we are grounded. We're going to work our way all the way up. So I'm just so excited that you're here to get us started.
I'm excited to be here.
Nice. So jumping into the root chakra, mūlādhāra, chakra 1, and we're going to be covering the major chakras, so the major 7. So we're going to get started with root. So I just want to know if you could let us know kind of the juicy basics of the root chakra, where it's located, its colors, its elements, its mantra, all of that good stuff that will just help us understand the basics of this chakra.
Yeah, so the root chakra, its location would be the perineum of the body, and then it extends through the legs all the way to the feet. So that's the physical location of it. The mantra for this is Lam. And when I say mantra, meaning this is the sound vibration that can help stimulate this area. Once you make the sound with your mouth, it has a neurological effect in the brain. And so that helps to, if you don't have the chakra open, it can help to begin to open the chakra. Or if there's an imbalance in the chakra, it can help to start to bring a little more balance into this area by chanting that mantra repeatedly on a regular basis. So that's the mantra for it. The color for it is red. Mm-hmm. And so this could be, you could interplay this color, be it the clothes you're wearing more red colors. This could be eating more red foods, raspberries, raspberries, pomegranate, strawberries, red apples, things of this nature. That would also help to stimulate it or to bring it into balance. If you are working with African gods and goddesses, the Orishas, that would vibrate to the god Shango. Whose color is also red, and it's more like a fiery, grounded, security and protection. Shango is a warrior deity. And so a lot of times when there's an imbalance in the root chakra, people tend to experience a lot of anxiety, or they worry excessively about things, because the root chakra is connected to feeling secure. It's connected to, safety, security, having your basic needs met, stability, things of this nature. And so when there's an imbalance, it may present itself as that. So some of the strategies for it, you could do yoga. You could incorporate colors. As I said before, you could do mantras. I love yoga for balancing the root chakra.
And
Love it.
I'm glad you brought up yoga, because one of my questions were, first I want to get into some of the signs that the listeners can know that this chakra is imbalanced. So what are what are some ways for someone to say, oh, wow, I really need to tap into my root chakra. I really need to give this chakra more attention? What are some signs or symptoms that people can experience?
Okay, so on a physical side, you may experience a lot of pain in the legs and the feet. Obviously, if you're experiencing any sort of physical imbalances, you always want to go to your doctor or holistic care provider and make sure, you know, there's nothing going on that needs to be handled that way, obviously. But even if there is, you can also still work on the spiritual and energetic side with that problem, whatever it may be, by working with the root chakra, with those mantras that I said. So you may experience problems in the feet and the legs. You may experience a lot of low back pain from time to time. That's also another key, because even in ancient Egypt, they have what's called the Z pillar, and it sort of looks like a spine. And that represents stability or support, and it looks like a spine. So when you're experiencing a lot of low back pain, this is a sign that maybe you're not feeling secure in your environment, or maybe you're not secure financially. And that's also another symptom of imbalance in the root chakra that people sometimes don't think about. If you're experiencing excessive financial instability, or your living conditions are not stable, they're very, you know, all over the place. Maybe you're couch surfing, you know, maybe you're having a hard time stabilizing your living conditions. This would be a symptom of your root chakra being out of balance, as well as, like I spoke about before, anxiety, excessive fear, constant worrying about things. All of these are symptomatic of having an imbalance in the root chakra. As well as you may have that root chakra pretty balanced, but then being thrown into those situations could throw it out of balance.
And see, I was going to ask you exactly that. Like, what are some life circumstances, some life situations that people can go through that will cause their root chakra to become unbalanced? So I hear you saying the symptoms, you know, feet problems or issues with the legs, or, you know, maybe some aches and pains in the low back. So I think it's really good, especially for those who are stepping into an understanding of the chakras, to really have a breakdown that if you are experiencing some of these symptoms, that could be an indicator that your root chakra needs some attention. And then also, what life events can cause, because maybe the symptoms don't hit them, but they're like, I have been couch surfing, or I have been having some issues with my finances. Like, anything else that you can offer, situational things that may cause that root chakra to become imbalanced?
Yeah, I mean, it could be something, you know, really major. Maybe there's a natural disaster and people are displaced. We saw that with, you know, Hurricane Katrina, and, you know, with other recent events in Houston, the flooding. So, you know, big natural events can happen and cause people to be displaced from their homes and what they're used to being around in their normal environments, as well as things like divorce. You know, going through a divorce, you know, and now you have to change homes, or, you know, you have to move to a different area, switching jobs suddenly, or losing a job suddenly. That can throw your root chakra off, because that is what you've used to depend on to pay your bills and feed your children, maybe. And so now you've suddenly lost that. Our most recent event, obviously, the pandemic that is happening right now. I'm sure it's thrown a lot of people's root chakra off at some point or another, because there's this feeling of not knowing what's next. And, you know, that can definitely stimulate a lot of anxiety and fear and worry and concern about, you know, your stability, your home life, your basic needs being met. You know, we saw it when it first happened, when it first hit. We saw people going out to the grocery stores and buying up all the tissue. You know, a basic need. Those are basic needs, you know, buying up all of the food, because these are basic needs. And so when that hit, it obviously threw the collective root chakra into an imbalance, because people became immediately and excessively worried if their basic needs, you know, would be met. And we saw that play out. But yeah, it can be anything from a divorce, just, you know, moving to a different town or city, as well as sometimes even feeling alienated a lot. This is something we see in social media a lot, like, oh, I don't need anybody, I just got myself, and I'll cut people off really quickly. That is also a sign of imbalance in the root chakra, because this feeling of alienation or being alone or not needing anyone, because, you know, the roots of a tree, they go down into the ground and they spread out, and there's all these little networks. So that's a community. That's working together. That's networking. And so when you're experiencing feelings of, oh, I don't need anybody else, I just got myself, or just feeling lonely all of the time, that is also very symptomatic that your root chakra may be out of balance. And then one more thing, as far as that area is concerned, that I like to talk about too, is the disconnection with your living family as well as your ancestors, relatives who may have passed.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a moment.
Hey Queens, isn't this such a great episode? Be sure to check out the Afro Chi Healers Directory, where you can find healers in your area offering similar services to the guests on today's podcast. If you are a healer, please be sure to join the directory so that Black women can locate your healing services and offerings. To join and view the directory, please visit afroqi.com. Okay, let's jump back into this episode.
That's another thing that I encourage sisters to do when they're experiencing imbalances in their root chakra. Maybe their finances are great. Maybe their living conditions are great. They're not having any health issues, but they still feel like, I'm just feeling lost. I just don't feel that connection. And they can't figure out what it is. And oftentimes I'll ask them, I say, how in touch are you with your ancestors? And they're like, what? And I'm like, are you in touch with your ancestors? Do you keep pictures of your ancestors in your home? Do you make prayers, and do you acknowledge them and things that you do, being thankful that the sacrifices they made that have allowed you to be where you are now? And they're like, no, that's not something I do. And I often mention that because as African-American people, we are actually unique in that way amongst other ethnic groups of people. Because of, slavery and different religion that has come in, we have lost as a collective our connection to our ancestry and ancestor veneration. So all other cultures, that's very common. It's just a way of life. It's not like something special that you do. It's just like obvious. You honor your ancestors. You can go into a nail shop and you will see their altar at the front door with their ancestors and their deities, because that's just what you do. Because, you can't be here without these people. Again, going back to the roots, the connection. Those ancestors are our roots to our tree that allow us to bear these fruits that we have. The success that we have today is from those roots of our ancestors. And so when you are living a life where you're not acknowledging that at all, you are definitely going to feel some imbalances. Absolutely. Because those are your connection. They are your connection to everything that's going on, and they are your connection to the greater divine out there. So you can't really skip over your ancestors and then like, oh, I'm all about the universe, and it's like, oh, but you forgot your grandma and them. She's the one that fed you every day. Your aunt cleaned your scrapes off when you would fall outside, and taught you things that, other people would have taught you. And so to skip over that is just not even logical, because these people literally took care of you in flesh and blood. And there's ancestors whose names you don't even know, who did things for you and made sacrifices that made it possible for us to be sitting here doing a podcast right now.
Absolutely.
Where we even have the luxury to speak on these things, or the fact that we're in a position, even with the challenges that we obviously still face as a people, but the fact that we have the luxury to even try to focus on these higher minded things now. Hey, what's my root chakra? What's going on with that? Our great grandma, I'm pretty sure she didn't have that luxury. You know what I mean? They didn't have that luxury to be sitting back thinking about these sort of things, or maybe practicing yoga. So ancestral veneration is very important to the root chakra from my perspective.
I love that. I love that as a tool to use for us to become grounded. What other tools could you offer for the root chakra? Are there any crystals or essential oils or any other things that you recommend? I know you really highlighted on some food. So eating red color foods, red apples, raspberries, strawberries, and then now touching on ancestral veneration. I'm like, oh my gosh, their toolbox is about to be full. Is there anything else you can offer as other tools to really help us strengthen the root chakra?
Yes. So yes, you could work with crystals and stones. One of my favorite to work with is actually red jasper. It's not, it's a common stone to find. It's not one that's often talked about. You know, it's not like the rose quartz or the crystal that everybody really loves. It's not like the really popular one, but it is a very effective stone to work with for the root chakra. And you could use that by like just carrying it around, you know, keeping it in your purse or pocket, but you could also lay down flat on your belly and place it at the bottom of your spine and just kind of lay there and relax and breathe and just kind of, you know, focus on that energy at the base of your spine. And you could work with the red jasper that way, as well as I mentioned earlier, eating the red foods, the mantra sounds, as well as the essential oils for the root chakra that I really love to work with are frankincense, patchouli, and sandalwood. Those are excellent for the root chakra, as well as black pepper.
Yes.
Putting a little more black pepper on your food, that also will help to root and ground. So you can even do black pepper if you're kind of having one of those days where you're feeling like not so grounded. It just feels like everything's kind of floaty, or, you know, you may even feel a little lightheaded. Maybe you move too quickly, and a little bit black pepper under your tongue will really help to just kind of bring you back into the present moment. It's very grounding energy. I was actually just attending a birth yesterday, and I used patchouli. It really helps mom, especially when she's in those, in the latter stages of the labor, when it's getting really intense. The patchouli in between the waves, as I like to call them, they call them contractions, I like to call them waves. The patchouli can really help to kind of just refresh her and get her ready for the next wave that's coming. And yeah, patchouli is really good for that, as well as frankincense. Frankincense is a great scent for that. So those are my favorite three, plus the black pepper. And the black pepper could be used either way.
And I love the black pepper because that's something that everybody can get their hands on.
Everybody has.
You can go to the Dollar Tree and get you some black pepper.
Right. Exactly.
And you were about to mention earlier yoga. Do you have any asanas that you really love for the root chakra?
Yes. Mūlādhāra is my favorite, and that's a squatting pose. For those who have access to being able to just squat down, that is an excellent tool. And you will actually see in a lot of indigenous cultures, there's a lot of cultures that they will like cook squatting by the fire. They will like sew or make crafts, like squatting down. And this position just really helps to root you down into the earth. It's a very earthy position, as well as it's also good for your digestive system, which also correlates to the root chakra. So a lot of squatting, and then sometimes purposely just sitting on the floor. I know we like to be comfortable in our nice plushy couches and all of that sort of thing, but sometimes it's good to just sit on the ground or sit on the floor. Even earthing is really good, going outside, walking barefoot, which plays a part in yoga, because you're barefoot when you do yoga. Also, down dog is a great asana for it, as well as child's pose. I always recommend child's pose because it's really easy. Just about anyone can do it. And child's pose is really great for when you're feeling a little bit of anxiety, because it sort of brings you down to the earth really close. You know, the head is bowed down, so it takes away those visual stimulants, and it just kind of closes you in and gives you that infant feeling, that of being safe and secure in the womb and things of that nature. So those are my two favorite, Malasana and child's pose, for asana positions. And those are usually pretty accessible for just about anybody. You know, even if you're a beginner at yoga or you're advanced, those are two go-to ones that I really recommend.
Love it. I love me a child's pose. Oh my gosh. In yoga, when they're like, you know, take it when needed, or take it when you want it, not when you need it. I'm like, yes, ma'am, here it goes. I'm taking my child's pose.
I love it. It's very balancing.
It is. And it's a little bit of brow too, because your forehead is like down on the mat, so you can kind of wiggle it there too. So what would you say is a way for us to know that our root chakra is balanced? So we talked a lot about signs, symptoms, circumstances that cause the chakra to become unbalanced. How can we know that we are grounded and rooted? Like, what are some things we can know about ourselves to know that we're good here? Our root chakra is good.
Yes, having a healthy community around you.
Nice.
You know, sisters, brothers, people around you who you feel fine relying on, and who can also rely on you. You definitely, if you're that person that people speak highly of, like, oh, you know, if you ask her to do it, you know it's done. You know, that's probably a good sign that your root chakra may be balanced, because you're a dependable person. So that represents security, stability, centeredness, as well as, you don't have a lot of back problems. You're not having issues with your feet. Your feet feel good. You may have a regular yoga practice. So likely your root chakra is probably pretty balanced. You don't have issues going outside. Sometimes you hear people say, oh, I just don't like being outside. And it's like, ooh, how's your root chakra doing, girl?
Yeah.
But, you enjoy being in nature. You feel comfortable being barefoot, and, you're comfortable being barefoot. Your finances are at a good place. Your living conditions are stable. Like I said, healthy relationships around you. Your eating is good. You're not lacking on food or shelter or clothing, but all of those things are at a nice place. You're experiencing a lot of abundance, whether that be monetarily, whether that be food-wise, whether that be opportunities coming into your life. But you just notice that there is a lot of abundance around you. That is a key to know that your root chakra is probably pretty stable, because how does the plant eat? It eats through its roots. So if you're experiencing abundance in several areas of your life, then you're probably pretty rooted and grounded, because you have to be in order to be receiving those nutrients to be able to manifest. Also, if you're a person who's, speaking of manifesting, if you're a person who's able to visualize a goal, know what it is that you want, and it pretty much consistently comes into fruition. You're able to manifest things fairly easily. You can put it in your mind, do the work for it, and there it is. It's happening in your real life. That's also a sign that your root chakra is probably pretty balanced and in tune and at a nice place. Manifesting is a real big one.
Yes, absolutely. And I'm so glad we're getting started here at the root, at the base. To really give people a good idea of that foundation. And I feel like everything you mentioned was so foundational. And it's like, how can we move our way up to the other chakras if the root is not stable? Like,
I say that all the time.
Not even focus on anything else unless we have our roots in place. Like, nothing else matters. Important. If you're running around trying to find shelter and food, and you're trying to get secure and safe, like, you can't do any of this upper work here, right?
You took that out of my mouth. I mean, I have said that so many times to people. I lived in Atlanta for many years as well. And, sometimes, I'd have these brothers who are supposedly so spiritual and conscious trying to talk to me. And I'm like, but brother, you're having problems with your living situations. Like, I don't know that you're as, your crown is as enlightened as you think that it is, because I tell people, just because you are a spiritual person, free spirit does not mean there's no order. That does not mean just being all over the place. There is order in spirituality as well. There is the system, and the chakras, like you just mentioned, is one of those systems where, it's like ground floor, root chakra. Let's get these things taken care of first. When there's no worry about food, clothing, shelter, well, now that gives you the freedom to be able to focus on your sacral chakra and these other chakras and your heart chakra and the crown and these higher knowledges. But it really doesn't do you any good to want to go up here and figure out all of what's going on up here in the crown and all these higher levels of information from on high when you're worried about how you're going to eat tomorrow. It doesn't go together, and it's going to make it very difficult for you to actually explore those other areas when you, like you said, you just don't even have the ground floor taken care of. You don't have the basic needs met. It's going to be very difficult for you to focus on those things. And I think especially new people coming into their spiritual practices or alternative ways of doing things, I think it's very important that they understand what you said, that root chakra is very important. Like, I know the other things are really cool, and we want to talk about the third eye, and all of that is really fanciful and really cool and out there, but do not sleep on that root chakra, because when that root chakra is good, you will be amazed at how those other chakras light up. You will be amazed, and then it's a really wonderful journey. But do not think just because the root chakra is focused on those more day-to-day things, those more mundane things, that they're any less spiritual, because they still are. Having financial stability is spiritual. Having, a good network of people around you, that is spiritual. It's not just the sage and the crystals and, you know, the waist beads. It's these things too. Absolutely. Also, waist beads are a good tool too for root and sacral.
More tools. Thank you so much, you know, for all of the information you shared. And again, I know I said it before, but I'm so happy to start here. And I feel like for all the other episodes in the season, like, I don't want people to hop around. So before you even go to the next episodes, like, you have to start here. Episode 1, season 2, Root Chakra. Like, start here before you start bouncing around to different episodes, because they need to get this knowledge. They need to get the foundation so that they can work their way up. So I thank you so much again for everything. If there was anything that I missed or anything that you wanted to share, I just wanted to make sure I didn't miss anything. I felt like we covered a lot.
We did.
Yeah.
I think that was it for now. I think that's a lot for them to chew on and to, you know, metabolize for now.
Well, thank you so much again.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Afro Chi podcast. Be sure to visit our website at afroqi.com and on all social media platforms at The Afro QI. Subscribe to this podcast now so you never miss a show.